right, greetings. Welcome in. It's Bettor's Last Stand, show number 87, coming to you from the Pine Room Studios down here. The Pine Room Studios official sports betting podcast right here. Matt hosting for you. Coach Chris gone on other business. Maybe someday we'll get them back in the seats. Sam will be joining us in the third segment of the show to talk all things racing, as well as hitting on some of the latest pirate issues and some thoughts on the NBA and NHL playoffs from Sam the Man. Good to be with you here again today. We will be off. I said this last week, and boy, I was getting ahead of myself. We will be off for the next 2 weeks, so there'll be no Bettor's Last Stand podcast for the next 2 weeks. We'll be out of town, but we'll have all the picks on BLS_PRP on Twitter and X, so follow those. Sam will get me his stuff. I'll have my plays on there, maybe even do some daily baseball stuff when I'm on vacation, so that way I won't be paying as much attention to work stuff, so that's a good thing, although this is part of works for me. So nonetheless, you can find the picks there each and every week, but I'll be extra certain to get them up in a timely manner, as we will not have a show for the next 2 weeks. We'll return here in the first week of June, and then we'll have a couple more weeks off after that, and then be back with you regularly leading up to football season. So, how did we do last week? That is the question. We were up 13 units, 13.3 units last week, not counting the golf. Golf, we were down. We were down a little bit in golf, probably down about 3.5, 4 units. So with golf added in there, we'd be plus about 940. The big winner, of course, Brad Keselowski in NASCAR gets the job done for us in a really tough situation at Darlington. Brad breaks a 101 race streak, winless streak, and that's a really good driver that he is. He changed teams, he got into the ownership, and now he's really building this team back up now. So I expect him to win some more races here in the near future. So great win for him. We'll talk more about that in detail with Sam, as Sam and I both gave that out. So hopefully that led you to go with Keselowski in your various bets and have a nice weekend because of it. We had a pretty good showing in IndyCar as well. Sam had Will Power and Alexander Rossi in the IndyCar. Both of them finished in the top 10, and then Power in the top 5. So those were good placement plays there. If you sprinkled a little to win, didn't get there with that, but at least you had good, solid finishes. I had, we had Lundgaard at top 5, which was very good. He was a contender all day, and also had Will Power. So good weekend for us in racing. I was 9-7 in the AFLs. I'm due for a real big breakout here in AFL. We're just treading water lately. I've had some weird situations that have cost us a few games. We lost one on a meaningless behind at the buzzer this week in a game that put the game over by half, which was really frustrating in a game that had no bearing on anything. A guy kicked it from like 70 yards away for no reason at all, and it went in through the half point or the single point. So not the true 6, but the 1 point post. So pain in the ass there. That got us, but that's all right. We're still ahead on the week, and like I said, we had good run in NASCAR. Keselowski comes in at 12-1, or in that ballpark, depending on where you shopped. EPL, we were 3-3, nothing to write home about there. Had a couple of strange ones there. Manchester United can't score 1 goal. I mean, my goodness. And then Burnley, a million chances, I feel like, and they didn't get the job done. But that's how it goes. Again, up 13 units for the week, so we will take that anytime, anywhere. Just starting the show off today, I'd be remiss not to start with this. 6 years ago yesterday, which would have been what the hell is the date today? Boy, I'm not very organized as far as that goes. I was going to say what's the date today, but now I can't even find my phone, so I can't even look. Oh, there it is. Okay, I don't even remember the date. Maybe the 13th, the 14th. It's the 15th. Okay, so the 14th. It would have been May 14th, and 6 years ago today, SCOTUS released a decision that dramatically changed the course of American sports betting, striking down the federal ban on state authorizations on sports wagering. Huge thing here. The striking down of the PASPA, as it's been known to be called, has now led to sports wagering in over 30 states, including these states that are around us here. West Virginia, most notably, Pennsylvania, and Ohio was the latest one to join. So huge stuff there. Allowed us to adapt into a market where, this kind of content was useful. Again, you really didn't have a whole lot of use for this unless you're betting offshore or going to Nevada regularly. So now that everybody can do it just about everywhere, we're looking to share the knowledge and, get to have a career in it if you choose to. So it's a great thing. We thank the Supreme Court for doing something that probably should have been done a long, long time ago, but better late than never, and we are not looking back now. So congratulations to all those out there who have lost thousands of dollars because of this law, or you made thousands of dollars. Not very many of you have made thousands of dollars, at least aggregate or total. I would say that's pretty tough to do. But anyway, we're going to do our very best to make sure that you can win a little bit here. A couple other lead things right now. Caitlin Clark over 20.5 last night in her WNBA debut. She falls short by half. So if you got it really early, I saw some 19.5s out there. You would have been okay. But the majority of people bet it late like usual, right up against the game time, 20.5. She hits 20. It was the most bet WNBA prop ever, which is not really a surprise, but it is really neat to see. And it outperformed every NBA playoff prop last night. So you had 2 NBA playoff games, and Caitlin Clark's props outperformed those. So more tickets writ for her than anybody else last night in basketball. That's saying something. Yeah, she was a little sloppy last night. Wasn't her best, but it's going to take her time. That is a good league. It has been a good league for a while. And, she's going to start to adapt, and she's a really good basketball IQ person. So she's very smart, and she will adapt, and I expect you to see drastic improvements. Give her a couple more weeks. By the middle of June, she'll be playing at a very high level, I would say, and really maximizing her opportunities and getting her teammates more involved. But the Fever, they were the worst team in the league last year, so it's going to take a little bit of time for them to build it back up, but they're at least going to draw well in their crowds, and they're at least going to have a really good following and a really good fan support. And I expect them to continue to get better throughout the season. But again, it was not a great performance for her last night, but she will improve. Jason Tatum, now 9-0 the under in his 3-point field goals made so far in the postseason. So write that one down. I don't know what's up with that, if he's not shooting that many or he's just been terrible or the games haven't mattered, so he hasn't really cared. Take your pick. But it's an interesting trend there. 9-0 to the under on his 3-point field goals made per game. Nuggets storm back, take a 3-2 lead against the Minnesota Timberwolves, while the Hurricanes still have life. Big game tomorrow as they take on the Rangers in Game 6. Maybe the Hurricanes pull a miracle. I'm not certain they can win in the Garden, but if they do, or they go back home, and then win Game 7. I think Game 7 in the Garden becomes a high-pressure situation. So I think if they win at home tomorrow, they will have a really good chance, or I guess last night. So you'll know by the time you listen to this whether or not the Carolina Hurricanes are still alive or not, but it has made for an interesting series, so we have to like that part of things. NFL schedule was released today, this week, or whatever you want to look at it. Not even excited a little bit about this. I don't really understand the big hoopla about it. All the teams are usually different. I mean, I guess you can get a little bit of a semblance of what the teams will look like if they have great quarterbacks and so on and so forth. But how many teams have that? Chiefs and Ravens to open up the season. That's just cliche. I don't know. I don't look forward to the NFL at all, so not really exciting for me. I don't understand why people are predicting records of teams and the rosters aren't even compiled, and we really don't know who's healthy and who isn't. So lots of things to unpack there with the NFL schedule, none of which I'm willing to do at this time. But as my headphones go dead on me. Anyway, we will persevere. NFL schedule is out, so check those out if you're interested in getting the win total bets down. Those lines will be released here very shortly. Some places already have them up right now. You can have look-ahead lines on a lot of the games available right now as well. International games, you got one in Brazil, 3 in London, and 1 in Germany this year, and they're going to continue to try to grow that market, the overseas market. That's or not necessarily overseas if you're counting Mexico in the mix, but yeah. So and not technically, I guess you say you cross the sea to get to Brazil, but anyway, nonetheless, off continent, however you want to look at it, or on the southern part of the continent. I'm surprised they don't play a game in Canada. They used to do a preseason game, I think, up there, but. Anyway, not really interesting to me in any regard. The German fans I thought were pretty cool. The place was very, very raucous, and other than that, it's nice to expose the game to the outsiders, the people, but they already have better games. Like soccer's so much better than football. It's not even close. Again, my opinion, but yeah. So people already have the beautiful game. They don't need to watch this ugly crap riddled with penalties and stupid behavior and bad officiating and all that kind of stuff. So. All right, but enough about the NFL. Let's get on to something that I do care about. It's the Preakness Stakes. It's at Pimlico this weekend. And let's see, the post time, I think 7:01, I think is what it is. I don't have it written down, but I think it's around 7:01. So here we go. We go to the Mid-Atlantic, the second jewel of the Triple Crown. Mystic Dan, the winner of the Kentucky Derby a few weeks ago, he comes into this race, and he may end up being the post-time favorite because as we explore the field here, we were originally going to have 10 horses, and then one of the horses who was kind of like a mid-tier type horse decided he wasn't going to come anyway. So we don't have him. Then we have 9. So they do the post-draw for 9 on Monday. Monday post-draw 9. They already scratched the favorite, Muth, the number 4. He drew the number 4 hole for Bob Baffert. He is out of the race. So that really makes things interesting here. He was going to be my pick to win. I think Baffert comes in here extremely motivated. He has 2 horses. He has had the 4 Muth, and then he has the 9 on the outside, Imagination. Imagination is going to be part of our discussion here, a major part of it, because he is going to be on the lead in this race. And now that maybe the pressure gets ratcheted down a tad, maybe you see Muth be able to, Imagination be able to stay in the race a little bit longer than he previously was going to be able to. That's the key here. Pace makes the race, as I get a call from work right now of one of my employees who's shouldn't need my help at this point right now with 2 supervisors there with him. I will get back to him. Anyway, let's go through the field here. The number 1, Mugatu. He comes in out of the Bluegrass Stakes at Keeneland. Last ran on April the 6th. He is from the Jeff Engler barn, and Joe Bravo, Jersey Joe Bravo, on board for him. The number 2, Uncle Heavy. Robert Reed, the trainer. Irad Ortiz will be on board here. He last ran in the Wood Memorial. Let me just go through my notes on these horses one at a time so we don't go back over them again. But Mugatu's 20-1 on the morning line. He's got a big, long stride. He kind of seems like he might be a little bit of a plotter. He saved ground well in the Bluegrass, and he'll do it here with the one post, no question about that. He didn't close into a very hot pace. He didn't have a pace to close into that much in the Wood Memorial, in the Bluegrass. So I don't know if that's a good sign here. The pace, my original pace thoughts on this race are not what they were originally the other day when I had when we had Muth in the race. So that changed how I looked at this a tad. I thought there was going to be a lot of speed because Muth is a horse who he's not going to need the lead because he does have tactical abilities, but he was going to push those other ones. So if you saw that Muth or the other horses that I would expect to be ahead of Muth, which would have been the 9, the 6, and the 7, if they're not going to really go and they're going to slow it down, Muth will go right up there by them and push them along. And then when it comes into the stretch, if nobody's used their speed, Muth then becomes the best of those horses because he's just better anyway. So the pace maybe would have been fast, and Muth is able to get by those guys because they wear each other out, or it was going to be close enough where there's a pack of 4 and Muth still has something at the top of the stretch. That's kind of what I was thinking. Either way, I liked Muth's chances there. But with him out, it changes things here. Anyway, Mugatu, back to him, the number 1, 20-1. He's the pace that he got, it was not very fast, and I don't really think that's going to matter to him here. I'm just not sure he's good enough to be able to win this race. He ran a 5th at the Bluegrass. Sierra Leone, who we all know from the Kentucky Derby, finished 2nd. He ran a solid race there, won that race, but I didn't love Mugatu in that race. I know a lot of people were saying he's kind of the wise guy horse there. I take a very guarded approach on him. Maybe a horse I'd throw in underneath in an all ticket or something, but I'm not high on Mugatu. Uncle Heavy, the 2, as I said, Robert Reed, Irad Ortiz. This horse comes out of the Wood Memorial. He ran a 5th place to Resilience, but I thought Uncle Heavy had an interesting trip. He got off very slow. He does have a little bit of a plotter's style to him. He did finish up pretty well in the Withers, I thought. And I thought if he had a good break, then perhaps he actually is a lot closer. And I'm not saying he was going to win that race, but I think that he is an outside contender to at least get into the money there. So I'm not going to completely discredit Uncle Heavy. He's going to be a horse that I would use in the bottom leg of my try, the third spot in my try, or key him in all three spots if you want, but at least key him in the second two spots, and then if you're going to do supers in the fourth spot. I think with Irad Ortiz, I think we'll get the best of him here. It's a big upgrade. This horse won the Withers, which is usually a pretty good indicator of horses who will be battle-tested. If you're running in the Withers in the Wood and you skip the Derby, I mean, you got a little bit of talent. So I think Uncle Heavy is an outside contender here. Not going to be a win bet per se, but he will be used underneath for me. 3, Catching Freedom. He ran in the Kentucky Derby. He was 4th. Beaten probably about 2 lengths. Be honest, should have been a lot more. He was going backwards as the other 3 were surging forward. So don't let that fool you. I know you'll read in the track, man. It'll say got through, kicked on. Well, that's kind of, he did get through and he did kick on, but his kick was not very strong. So Catching Freedom is a horse to me. Brad Cox, the trainer, Flavian Pratt, the rider. Great hook up there, no question about that. I just don't know. He was a wise guy picking the Derby. He closed okay, but again, I thought he was going backwards as the other guys were surging forward to the finish line. He was, I don't know. He just faded a little too much for me. So I'm not sure the race sets up with him great. I mean, they say that he is labeled as a closer, but I guess that is what he is. I mean, looking at his PPs, I mean, that's pretty much, he's come from far back every single time, including the Derby when he was 15th at the first call. So, yeah, I guess he is technically a rapid closer. I just don't love closers in the Preakness. I never have. I talked about that on the radio the other day. Speed holds up a lot on this track at Pimlico. A lot of the Maryland tracks, a lot of the Stronach group tracks seem to hold speed, whether it's Gulfstream, whether it is Santa Anita at some point, depending on the dryness of the track. And then the 2 Maryland tracks, Laurel and Pimlico, a lot of speed holding tracks. So I don't know what it is in the compounds they use or whatever, but I think it's going to be tough. Catching Freedom, not a horse I would say to not use underneath. Probably if you're going to play tries and supers, you want to put him in the 3 or the 4 hole. But I'm not a favorite of his, or he's not a favorite of mine. I will not be using him on top in my ticket. Let's see. Go to the number 5, Mystic Dan. He is 5-2 in the morning line. Catching Freedom was 6-1, by the way. Mystic Dan 5-2. That's probably going to drop down, seeing the 8-5 favorite Muth has scratched. Obviously, we know got a great ride from Brian Hernandez. Cut the corner, up the rail, wide open spaces, and just saved a lot more ground than all the other horses. And just barely got there after the interference that never got called on Sierra Leone against Forever Young, which still kind of haunts me. But anyway, it was a good day. So Mystic Dan, he ran pretty good in the Derby. I guess it's a great trip for him. Will he be fresh enough to do it here? Kenny McPeak originally wasn't sure he was going to bring him here. But he ate well and kept his weight on, so that's a good sign. But, I mean, I know it's hard for the ownership groups to turn down a chance at a Triple Crown because you just never know. And the crop of horses this year isn't very good. So you'll probably see Sierra Leone in the Belmont, so you got to have to contend with him again. But Belmont in closers is not always the case, so you want to be a little closer than he usually is. But Mystic Dan, he's got the tactical abilities to be pretty good here. He should be forward. I bet he'll be in, let's see, what did I gauge him about? 5th place? Yeah, probably 4th, 5th place, probably tucking on the rail, very similar to what he did the last time. He's going to have some space, I would imagine, when he comes off of the turn. Does he have enough kick? Is he fresh enough? I'm not discrediting him. I'll be using him in all of my trifectas and superfectas for sure, with the outside possibility that he does win this race. So I will key him on top in some tickets. He is not my number 1 choice, but I will definitely use him, and he is in my top 3. I thought he is good enough, and he's improved enough, and he's battle-tested, and he got a great ride. So the next one, the 6, Seize the Gray. D. Wayne Lucas and Jose Torres. This is the number 6 horse. He comes in 15-1. On the morning line. He shocked everybody in the Pat Day Mile. Good win for him. But perhaps he's a mile or less horse. To me, it sure seemed like it. He hasn't gone this distance with any success. He has ran a mile and 1/8 a couple of times. Not a whole lot there. He had 1 win in a mile and 16th, but it was an optional claiming event. So a horse with 3 legs probably could have won that. He had a perfect trip in the bluegrass, if you ask me, and didn't really do anything with it. He did no running at all. So that was the race before the Pat Day Mile. I believe he was trying to get into the Kentucky Derby, and he just didn't run enough. So that's why they went to the Pat Day Mile. He's had mixed results in fast-paced races, so I'm not sure the pace is going to be as fast as originally thought it was going to be. So that may not matter here. He definitely wants to be forward, but he's shown a pretty decent late kick, but hasn't run well back-to-back at all. And looking through that, that's a concern to me. Whenever horses develop that pattern, you saw it with the favorite lap in the Kentucky Derby, back-to-back. He can't run back-to-back races, so I'm out on Seize the Gray. I know a lot of people like him. I think he's more of a 1 mile or less type horse. So we'll be passing on him. Just Steel, the 7. D. Wayne Lucas, Joe L. Rosario. This is a horse that was in the Kentucky Derby and a horse who, to me, has benefited the most with Muth coming out of the race. This horse has ran a lot. He's ran 12 times. So I'm not worried about his stamina. He's had enough... He's seasoned enough where he can continue to build up his toughness, his grit. And when you're running a horse 12 times here since he's ran 12 times in his career. He ran a ton as a 2-year-old, which is very, very good sign to me, which means that they believe that he might be pretty decent, as the Colorado Rockies are beating the Padres again. Boy, the Padres are terrible. Anyway, back to it. Just Steel. D. Wayne Lucas, Joe Rosario, last race for him, Kentucky Derby, as we said. He was second in the Arkansas Derby to Muth, who is now scratched out of this race. He ran a very pedestrian 7th in the Rebel Stakes back at Oak Lawn back in the earlier spring. So I was a little worried about him getting tired, but I think this might work for him. Joe Rosario, obviously a really smart rider. I think him coming back on him is a very big benefit to me. I think he's going to be able to read this race very, very well. Just Steel, I thought, would get into a little bit of a duel with Imagination, but I'm not sure that he will now. So I think he's going to sit off, just right off of the leaders. He burned up in the Kentucky Derby. That was bound to happen in 20 horses. It was going to be hard to gear him down without using him up, getting him to break and get out to where he needs to go without using him up. And he was used up badly as he fell all the way to 17th, I believe. Just got annihilated there. But I think he'll be involved in the pace, sit right off the leaders. I don't think the pace will be quite as hot now. I think the distance, a little bit less, a mile and 3/16, I think is going to help him a little bit. And I think that he's a player in here. So we're going to keep Just Steel on the card. He is a potential win bet for us. He's not a top play, but he is right there. He's probably my second choice at this point. And then we'll get to my top play right now. It will be, actually, this is kind of a 1A and 1B situation here. Tuscan Gold, the 8 horse. He comes in at 8-1. Chad Brown, Tyler Gaffalione, who was riding Sierra Leone in the Kentucky Derby. This is an interesting horse to me. He was a horse who was kind of on the Derby trail. He ran in Louisiana Derby. He had if he would have won, he would have had enough points to get into the Derby. But I didn't think they wanted him. I don't think they cared if he won. I think Chad Brown has done very good by shooting horses for the Preakness, like lining them up, getting them on a path to hit the Preakness. He did it with Cloud Computing, probably, 2017 maybe, something like that. And then what was the other one? Oh, Early Voting. Early Voting he did 2 years ago. Horses who were kind of on the Derby trail, but not really. Kind of got a little bit of a test against some of the Derby horses, the caliber, to see if they were good enough, and then very lightly raced. So coming in extremely fresh. Tuscan Gold's only ran 3 times. He's the son of Medaglia d'Oro, which to me is a plus. Tyler Gaffalione comes back to ride him. He's rode him 3 times, or this will be his 3rd time. And overall, he just seems like he's trending upward. His speed figures have went up. It jumped 20 points and then 10 points in his next run. Like I said, 3rd to Catching Freedom in the Louisiana Derby. I didn't love that race by any means, but I think this horse was put on the path to come to the Preakness, and if Chad Brown is able to do this again, it's quite a lift. It gets a big break with Bob Baffert Muth coming out of the race, because I think that was going to compromise him a tad, but he's got a really good closing kick. If he's not too far back, if Tyler Gaffalione gets him to settle in like 5th or 6th and not lose a ton of ground, I think he can make up enough ground to be in the mix there. So he is my, I'm going to say my 1B choice here, because my overall top choice now is going to be Imagination. I think Imagination, the 9-horse, Bob Baffert, Frankie Dettori, he is, let's see, 7, where is he on the morning line? 6-1 on the morning line. 6-1 on the morning line there for him. He's a very forward horse. He wants to be forward, but he doesn't need to be on the lead. I think he will get the lead here, and I think he might get an easy lead, because I think Joe Rosario is going to say, okay, I know that Muth is not here now, so I don't have to worry about Muth going by me in stretch now. I can save a little bit of horse here, and then I can take a run at Imagination and see what I got for him. Because if you have Muth in the race, you're going to have to go pretty fast and forward and hope that you can gap him enough where he can't get by you. I thought that he was the whole key. Not that he was going to dictate the race, but he has the tactical ability that, like I said, he can press those guys and just be better than them if they're all on the same stamina level, or he can wait them out and be better than them. So I thought Tuscan Gold, who's going to be coming off the pace, he won't factor in the pace whatsoever. Imagination will, though. Imagination, if he gets the easy lead and they don't go, if Joe Rosario doesn't go, and obviously Muth is out of the race, but you have, there's really not a whole lot of other horses that are probably going to go in this race. Seize the Gray, perhaps, since I think he's more of a sprinter, I would expect him to come out and say, you know what, I'm going to be up near the pace here. But that he doesn't have to do that. So I think Imagination gets a very, very big break here with the scratch of Muth. Pace should slow down significantly because of that. And then you're going to have a waiting game here. Who's going to wait it out? Is Just Steel going to try to push Imagination? If Just Steel and Imagination really go at it on top of each other hard at the front of the field, which I don't think they will, then I think Tuscan Gold and Mystic Dan are very, very good plays. But I'm going with Imagination here. I think he is going to be able to get a good ride from Frankie Dettori. He's one of the best riders in the world, who has been for a long time. He's just not ridden in North America his entire career, but he's finishing up his career here in North America, making some money, trying to win some of these prestigious races. I think this horse has a chance if he's rationed well on the front end and control the pace. I would have loved if Johnny Velasquez was on him. I would have said it was a really good bet. But I'm going to take a shot, Frankie Dettori on top. That Imagination can get out there and do kind of what National Treasure did with John Velasquez last year in the Preakness for Bob Baffert. Slow the fractions down and still have enough horse to be able to hold off the charging Tuscan Gold, Mystic Dan. And then we'll see. If Just Steel can sit off of him, maybe he makes first run and gets lucky. I'm not sure he's good enough to beat him, but he might be. And then if Imagination burns up, I think it's a good chance a trifecta of Tuscan Gold, Just Steel, and Mystic Dan can come in. So we'll go with the 9 on top, followed by the 8. So the 9 and the 8 are my two keys. Basically, I'm going to be interchangeable on those two, but I will go with the 9 as my top choice. So 9 and 8, main two plays, and then we have the 5 and the 7 as my second tier plays, followed by the long shots, which would be Uncle Heavy, the 2, and then Catching Freedom is not a long shot, but he would be a defensive use, not on my ticket as a main card horse, but a defensive use. So again, the 9, the 8, the 7. So 9, 8, 7, 5 is how I have it shaken out. Actually, probably more like 9, 8, 5, 7. But nonetheless, should be a great race. Looking forward to it. Pimlico, Baltimore, should be a great weekend. Hopefully the rains don't wash us off. If they do, I may adjust a little bit of my handicapping. So BLS_PRP is going to be very important for you to check that out and have all the comprehensive breakdowns of, I'll try to put some multi-ticket wagers in there as well, as I'll do several of those based on the finalization of the fields and the weather at Pimlico on Saturday. I'm going to take a break here on the 87th episode of Bettor's Last Stand here from the Pine Room Studios. Our last one before a couple-week break. We're going to come back. We'll touch on the hockey and basketball playoffs, as well as the PGA Championship this week, as well as some MLB updates, some soccer, some tennis, little Aussie rules, a little bit of everything coming up in the second segment. It's Bettor's Last Stand for the Pine Room Studios. We'll be back in a moment.
Reminder, this show is for informational and entertainment purposes only. All wagering activities should only be conducted by those 21 years of age or older and within the confines of federal, state, and local law. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, contact 1-800-GAMBLER. That's 1-800-426-2537. All right, men, load the cannons and hold the line. You're listening to Bettor's Last Stand.
All right, welcome back in Bettor's Last Stand, show number 87, coming to you from the Pine Room Studios here in downtown Wheeling. Big week of sports action going on right now. But first, let's thank our sponsors. As always, we appreciate the support of all of our wonderful teammates in this endeavor. Starting off with our Watchdog friends. Listen to us on the Watchdog on every Monday, Tuesday, and Friday. WatchdogNetwork.com or WKKX WVLY right here in the Ohio Valley. We have a great show each week. A couple shows each week. 3 shows, really. 2 long ones and 1 short one. So stop in. No, you can stop in. You can actually do that. You can come in and say hi to us in the studio or just pop it on your radio dial. Give us a listen. Give us a call, text, whatever you want to do. But again, thanks to our Watchdog friends for everything they've done for us, as well as our other partner, the Wheeling Nailers, whose season came to an end last week, unfortunately, at the hands of the Toledo Walleye, but it was a really fun season. We appreciated all the guests we had on Nailing It Down throughout the season. Wonderful segment of the Friday shows, and really look forward to that coming back next fall. So great stuff there. And then, as always, thanks to our friends at IC Cabs, Zambito Flooring America, 4 Seasons Simulated Golf and Bar, Jill's Gentlemen's Club, Gumby's, Figuretti's, Generations, Duggar's Market. We've had a lot of great support here, and we appreciate everything. River City. But yeah, everything's been really enjoyable from our standpoint. Hopefully the other places feel the same way, but we appreciate all the partnerships and all the sponsorships that we have gathered, and I guess the friendships that we've made along the way. So again, thanks to all of them for everything they've done to support the Pine Room Studios here in 2024 and beyond, and back before that. So good stuff. All right, let's turn our focuses here to a couple bad beats. If you had Tyler Reddick or Chris Buescher in Darlington last week, it looked like one of those two was going to win the race. Reddick had a better car. Buescher tried passing him. Keselowski was just hanging out. And then those two guys got together. Reddick kind of got blamed for it, which I think it was his fault. Buescher was pissed after the race. They got into each other, cost them both the victory. And it worked out well for us as Keselowski picks up the scraps and takes home the victory. Braves and Cubs over the other night, 7-0 in the 4th inning. You had nothing the rest of the way. Over 7.5 gets you nothing. And a 7-0 4th inning lead for the Braves. So tough one there, but that's baseball pretty much every night. And then the Colorado Avalanche. If you had series bets or future bets on them, takes a big shot to the gut as Valeri Nichushkin suspended for 6 months. Substance abuse issues. Sounds like cocaine. There's rumors he's involved with Russian mob. I mean, it's an ugly situation, perhaps, but we wish him the very best because it's a long road back. Let's see, in hockey. So touching on the hockey right now, you got Carolina came back making a little bit of a series here. You got Game 6 coming up there. Colorado's facing elimination tonight, so by the time you listen to this, they probably will be out. Florida had a good chance to eliminate the Bruins last night, but Swayman was outstanding, and Bruins win the game 2-1, and then Edmonton and Vancouver tied 2-2. Favorites 34-26 in the NHL playoffs right now. Road teams 33-29, while the overs are 31-30-1. So basically dead even there. I still think the Panthers are probably the team to come out of the East. And then in the West, I kind of go back and forth. Dallas has been pretty stable. If Ottinger keeps playing goal like this, they'll be pretty good. But I think Edmonton or Vancouver will give them a battle. I think Edmonton and Vancouver probably go 7. And I think they'll give Dallas a good battle there. I think Florida will relatively easily dispose of either Carolina or the Rangers. They're just, to me, they're the best team. We've thought they're the best team all year. They went through a bad rut there where they were really bad. It's like they lost interest for a few weeks, and they weren't good. So I didn't know if they'd get that back, but they definitely got the edge back. Should have won the game last night, a lot of chances, but didn't get it done. But they will go to Game 6 and look to finish off the Bruins 4-2, and I expect them to do that. But yeah, I'm probably leaning Florida from that regard in the NHL playoffs. Basketball-wise, stuff's really hard to watch. Knicks win last night, take a 3-2 lead over the Pacers. That goes back to Indiana. They'll probably win that. That'll probably go 7. Celtics are going to kill the Cavs no matter which way you look at it to get the gentleman's sweep again probably. Cavs decimated. Knicks decimated. In the Western Conference, we said the Nuggets come storming back, win 3 in a row against Minnesota. Can they close it out? I would imagine they did. I took a little bit of Nuggets series praise back when they fell down 2-0 because I had a feeling Minnesota, being a little young and inexperienced, would maybe suffer. Thought maybe it could get it to where they had a shot. Now they're in command of the series. And then in the other series, I think it'll go 7, Dallas and Oklahoma City. Great series there. Tied up, heading back to OKC, and I expect that to go 7. So decent matchups there in the Western Conference. Favorites 40-21 straight up, 31-30 against the spread. Home teams 37-24, and the unders 31-30 in the NBA playoffs so far. Hit on the WNBA that started the other night. Caitlin Clark will be in action again, I think Thursday, which will be last night. So see how she does there. And I'll probably give out some WNBA bets as the summer goes on. All right, golf time. PGA Championship, probably the least favorite major, the least entertaining major. It always has been to me. I like that they moved it up in the calendar, so that part is good. I'm not going to waste a whole lot of time talking about this. To me, it's probably like a 3-horse race maybe here between Scheffler, John Rahm, Brooks Koepka. I don't count Rory McIlroy. I know you can write me a letter and say, oh, you were wrong. Rory McIlroy's won twice since you said he sucked and he won't win. And I said he wouldn't win any majors, and he still was not going to. He won last week. He's getting divorced now. He's going to use that to like motivate him like he did. He won here the last time they played at Valhalla in Louisville. But the field that he played against was trash. So Phil Mickelson finished second in that event, and that was your next best guy. A lot of guys just aren't very good back then. He caught that transition period too soon after Tiger Woods for the kids that emulated him to be ready, and he had like a little 10-year, 8-year window where it was basically him versus a bunch of guys who Tiger Woods had been beating for years, and he benefited from that. Carry the torch briefly, and now he'll never carry it again. I still don't see any way you can bet him at 6-1 in this tournament. Scheffler 4-1, just had a baby, so you don't know about that. A lot of these guys get married, have babies, and their games really suffer because of it. So as Colorado is just teeing off on the San Diego Padres today, an embarrassing performance by the Padres, who I have no idea what this franchise is trying to do. They got a bunch of losers on their team, so. The Dodgers lead in the West just continues to get larger. But back to golf. Top plays for me. I can't advise anybody to not play Scheffler here or play John Rahm. John Rahm's game has not been great, but I think he'll be motivated. I think he had a bad Masters. 15-1 here I think is a very fair price. You can find some 16s out there as well. But my top guys are going to be 3 live guys. Brooks Koepka, my number 1 choice, followed by Bryson DeChambeau, followed by Cameron Smith. Those are my top 3 plays there. And then my 4th play, and also a live guy, Joaquin Niemans. Won twice on live this year. I think his game was good. He was good at the Masters. Also like Terrell Hatton, another live guy, 50-1 for Terrell Hatton. I like that price. I think he'll be, this is the course that probably is going to play pretty easy. It's going to be like a long bombers course, going to roll it on those fairways. Not really challenging rough. The U.S. Open, I can never play Terrell Hatton in because if he gets in there, he's going to break all his clubs. Not because he's hitting shots with him and breaking them. He's going to snap him over his knee. So Hatton is a use here, though, because these fairways and stuff are going to be very, very gettable, and I think he'll play well here. So I think 18, 19, 20 under par will probably win this tournament. So it's not going to be a really a fun event for as far as challenging for these guys at all. So anyway, recapping: Koepka, DeChambeau, top 2, followed by Cameron Smith, Joaquin Niemann, Terrell Hatton. Then I go Patrick Reed, another live guy, along with Shane Lowry. Those are like my mid-tier guys. And then a couple guys with a little bit more of a price to him. Keith Mitchell, 144-1. I've been on him a lot this year. I think he can play a little bit. I don't know if he can win this, but I think he can contend. And then Sepp Straka, if he gets the putter going, he's 85-90-1. Maybe you can find some hundreds out there on him. If you have a couple bucks, throw it on Sepp Straka. He could be worth a use here in the PGA Championship. So those are what I like from that point of view. I have them up on the BLS_PRP Twitter page. You can follow along or in the weekend. And again, you're going to be hearing this. It already started on Thursday, but you can go back and play those guys or however you want to look at them. The golf thing. You can really do well in play. You can get good prices and take advantage of guys who maybe have a bad hole or start out poorly, and then they come on in the weekend, and you can capitalize on those. Moving over to baseball now. Major League Baseball in full swing right now. We'll talk with Sam about the Pirates and their situation, Skeens and so forth. It gets exhausting talking about the Pirates. They're just no good. They're just flat out no good. Yeah, they got a couple of decent young arms. Skeens is going to be very good, but it's not going to matter. They're not going to be able to win games for him. They can't hit. Their lineup is pathetic. They got murdered again today. They're not even worth talking about. They're not even a story. They're an awful, awful franchise with an awful, awful owner and an awful GM and an awful manager. And if you don't believe that, you're not paying attention. So anyway, enough of the Pirates. Major League Baseball favorites 361 and 259. So the favorites are getting there here and starting to come in a more regular clip. Home teams 321 and 313. So that's pretty even. And the unders right now 320, 291, and 25 on the season. We'll talk more MLB with Sam here in a little bit. Soccer. Manchester City 1 win away from taking another EPL title. I think they have a 2-point lead right now. So even if they drew, and then I think they would lose it on goal differential. If they drew and Arsenal won, I think Arsenal would beat them on goal differential. So they got a win against West Ham on the weekend. That's on Sunday. All the games on Sunday, finishing up the season the exact time, which is a good idea. That way nobody can sandbag or play tactics in the game, depending on where they are in the table. So City looks like they will capture their next EPL crown. They're out of the Champions League, and this is they're all in for the EPL title. I imagine that they will easily dispose of West Ham, who has not been playing very well lately. So another win for City. In Champions League action, we got our Real Madrid ticket through. It wasn't easy. They scored twice here on the show while we were taping last week. Dramatic win against Bayern Munich. They will now take on another German side, Borussia Dortmund, in London on June the 1st. We had future tickets on Real Madrid way back. You probably got them around 7 to 1. In the Spanish tickets out there was like a plus $3, plus $3.50. So if you hit any of those or got any of those live right now, we're looking really good. So I'm excited about that one. So a good live ticket alive with Real Madrid at 8 to 1. And they're a good favorite in this game. So if you had a giant stake in this and you had them way earlier than even the 8 to 1, you could do a little bit of hedging with Dortmund for sure because you get a nice plus price there. So look forward to that one. That'll be in London at Wembley Stadium on June the 1st. Tennis, hit on this a little bit last week, but I'll just go over a couple of things because I watched a decent amount of the clay courts in Rome over the past week, and some of these players that we talked about last week are in good form. They're playing well on clay. They're getting some competition in against some pretty good players. Hitting on the women's right now, Iga Swiatek, who won the last clay court tournament a couple weeks ago. She's probably going to win this one too. She's really, really good on clay, and it's hard not to back her, even at even money for the French Open. But a lot of these other girls are starting to gain on her a little bit, make some strides. Coco Gauff and her square off in the semis in Rome. I believe that's going to either be early tomorrow morning or late tonight, or it won't be late tonight. It might be going on now, but I think it's tomorrow. But Swiatek and Gauff in the semis there in Rome, and then Sabalenka will take on the winner of Victoria Azarenka and Daniel Collins in the United States. Sabalenka's clay court game has got a lot better. I watched an entire match of her the other night against Svitolina, and it was a battle. It went 3 sets, and those girls were on par with each other, but Sabalenka has some confidence on the clay now that she didn't used to have. She's really in a good spot mentally and is getting better and better and better and continues to improve. So that's why I thought her coming out of one of the draws, one of the brackets, the quarter draws, it'll be labeled Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. I think her coming out of there has got a really good possibility. So we'll look at that. We don't know when the draw will be until Monday. So we look forward to that one. It should be highly anticipated. But I think a lot of the people that we mentioned last week are going to be in the mix. Beatrice Hadid-Maya, BHM, she played pretty well, made it to, I believe, the quarters of this one. Daria Kasatkina, Elena Rybakina Mira Andreeva, and then, of course, Sabalenka and Coco Gauff, both serious contenders. Coco's got the athleticism to give Swiatek a little bit of a battle here. So that was the recap on the women's side of Rome. In the men's, it's the quarters. You got Tablio and Zhang. That's kind of a lesser-known one. You got Zhang, the Chineseman, and you got Tablio. I think he might be Chilean or Panamanian. And then you got Zverev and Fritz. So Fritz from the United States, not bad on clay, but not great. Zverev, a guy we talked about last week. He's a guy who's just waiting to break through. He's been knocking on the door. He's going to be around 40 or 50 to 1 to win the French Open. Not sure he can get there, but I think he could possibly win a quarter depending on how he gets matched up in that one. He'll be taking on Taylor Fritz in one of the quarterfinals in Rome. Tsitsipas, another guy we said was very live. He's playing very good clay court tennis. He will take on Jerry, who's, I can't remember what country he's from, South American, I believe. But yeah, so that's another pretty decent match there. But Tsitsipas at around 12 to 15 to 1 from the French Open. He'll have a shot. He's made some runs in the past, and his game is starting to get back to where it needs to be. Hurkacz, who took out Nadal, Hubert Hurkacz. He's not really known as a clay court guy. He's more of a fast court with a big serve, but playing pretty good clay court right now. He'll take on Tommy Paul from the United States in the other quarterfinal in Rome. Rafa Nadal got smoked, and there's probably an outside shot. He doesn't even go to the French Open. I think he thought his game was a little further along. I was a little bit dubious of that because he doesn't play that much tennis, and it takes a long time to get back to where you need to be as far as playing a lot of tennis in a timely manner. But that'll do it for French Open. I'll have those picks up on BLS_PRP as well. Let's see, what else do we have to hit on here? Oh, Aussie Rules. We'll go through those here briefly and then get on over to Sam the Man for the racing talk. We go into round number, I believe this is round 10. Yeah, round 10, AFL. Good stuff. We're right on the cusp of a big performance here at some point where we're going to sweep the card, hopefully. We'll go with the Thursday night game, Geelong Cats and the Gold Coast Suns. It'll be Geelong -3.5. Under 161.5. This is a game that won't matter to you because it happened already, but we'll go with the Cats and the under. Friday, Carlton and Sydney doing battle. Should be a good one here. Couldn't pick a side. I'd lean Carlton catching 13.5, but don't love that. Under 170.5 is the play for me. Collingwood and Adelaide. This one on the, let's see, this is on Friday as well, 11:45 Eastern time at Friday night. Be going with the Magpies. They're playing really good, unbeaten 6. Won again last week. We're going to go with the Magpies -20.5 and 167.5. We're going to go over that 167.5. So Collingwood and over in that one. GWS and Western. This is a late Friday night, early Saturday morning game. GWS -14.5. They're 6-3 on the season. They lost 2 in a row. They really need to get back on it here. I think they do. Western very undisciplined. I think GWS wins this, covers the 14.5, and I like this game under the 181.5. High total. Last 3 in the series have gone under too, so that's a good trend to be backing. Fremantle and St. Kilda, early Saturday morning game. Fremantle catching 3.5 against the Saints. Interesting. Total 148.5. St. Kilda's not good enough to be giving points to anybody, so we'll go with Freo plus the points and over 148.5. Richmond and Brisbane, also early Saturday morning. Tigers 1-8. Brisbane starting to get a little bit of momentum. They drew last week with the Crows, 90-90. But we'll go with Brisbane -45.5. Richmond is absolutely decimated with injuries. They lost like 4 more guys last week, and we'll go under the 169.5. It should be Brisbane in a landslide. North Melbourne 0-9 against the Essendon Bombers, 6-2-1. Essendon -48.5. It's pretty easy. You know what I'm going to say. It's going to be play against North Melbourne and play the over. These spreads aren't high enough. The totals really aren't high enough. So we'll go with the Bombers minus the 48.5 over 178.5. And then a late night. That was a Saturday evening game. And then a late Saturday evening game. Hawthorn and Port Adelaide. Hawthorn has won 2 in a row. That won't continue here. Port with a nice win last week. They're 6-3 on the season. Starting to get their health back. We'll go with a power minus 31.5 here and the under 170.5. And then the final game, a very early Sunday morning start or late Saturday, depending on what kind of night you're having. The Melbourne Demons 6-3 taking on the West Coast Eagles 2-7. West Coast, they're not going to keep winning. They're catching 29.5 here at home. So we'll go with the Demons minus the 29.5. No play on the total there. I didn't really like anything in that one. So. All right, we're going to take another break here on the 87th edition of Bettor's Last Stand from the Pine Room Studios, and we will be back to to talk to Sam the Man. All the racing going on this weekend. Indy has a week off, but we'll recap the Indy road race, get ready for the 500 in a week. And we also got F1 back in action and the NASCAR All-Star race at North Wilkesboro. It is Bettor's Last Stand from the Pine Room Studios. We'll be back in a moment.
Reminder, this show is for informational and entertainment purposes only. All wagering activities should only be conducted by those 21 years of age or older and within the confines of federal, state, and local law. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, contact 1-800-GAMBLER. That's 1-800-426-2537. All right, men, load the cannons and hold the line. You're listening to Bettor's Last Stand.
All right, welcome back in. Bettor's Last Stand, show number 87. Sam the Man joins me now. We were talking a little bit about the latest Bucko debacle this afternoon before we started recording. Pirates fall in a tight one, 10-2 to the Brewers. It was another ugly display. Sam, we haven't spoke on camera since the Skeens performance last weekend. I didn't think he was bad, but the inning following his removal from the game with the unthinkable 6 runners walked in, it just I can't even say it without laughing. It's hysterical. But again, power bullpen we thought was going to be a strength. Turned out it's not to be. They were able to win that game, but they're still a mess in so many areas. Where are you with this team right now?
Matt, you know me. I'm a psychopath. It's always the Pittsburgh Pirates. They've been this way my whole life. So I'm on the ship. I'm on the sinking ship. You know, it's my 28th year. I've drowned. It's just like I don't even know. Like the Paul Skeens thing was great. It really was. He pitched well. Jared Jones, he pitched well the night before. But the actual reality of when those guys aren't pitching or Keller doesn't pitch, as soon as they're out of the game, Matt, it's just they see red. They cannot keep people from crossing home plate. It's as simple as that. Whether it's giving up hits, walking them, making errors, they all happen when our star pitchers are taken out. We can't have them pitch every 3 days.
No. And
nice,
the good news is they're going to try with a 6-man rotation now. I don't know if that's going to help anything. I don't think that's going to help Rowdy Tellez hit or Kutch hit. Brian Reynolds had a decent game the other day, but will that continue? Cruz has been a little inconsistent, but he's been okay. And then Connor Joe, he might be the best all-around player on the team.
He is our best. Like, he's our best player, and that's not to knock him. That's fine. But we have a couple guys making a couple $1 million a year that one's not even playing.
Key Brian
ain't playing. Brian Reynolds is just Brian Reynolds, which he was 5 for 5 that other game, which is great. But, when you get your ass kicked like this, they got so many issues, Matt.
They do.
Henry Davis went to the minors. He has more hit by pitches than hits since he's been down there. Number 1-1, we took that guy.
Yep. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's not pretty right now. Then now it's Chicago again, a team that's giving the Pirates a lot of trouble. So that's not going to get any easier. I don't know. Shelty's a mess. His decision making's bizarre to me. But the roster overall just is not what it needs to be. Rowdy Tellez, I don't know when they decide to just scrap him for good. Not that they don't really have anybody they can replace him with. But Connor Joe might be the everyday first baseman.
He needs to be, and like Triolo would be the guy, but he's struggling. You want Henry Davis's bat, and I would have taken him at first. But if he can't hit, it's like I should play first.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah. They're in the division is in a weird spot that the Pirates have been this bad and inconsistent, and they're in third.
Yeah.
I think that it's gonna even itself out, and they'll be creeping towards the bottom a little more.
Yeah, I honestly don't know who the best team is. I don't think Milwaukee's as good as they have shown early in the season. I thought St. Louis would be a little better. I'm very disappointed in the Reds. I thought they were going to be a lot better than they have been. There's still a lot of time. And then the Cubs are about what I expected, just okay, just right in the middle. So, I don't know. This division's up for grabs, and you're right. The Pirates aren't dead and buried yet because they're in that division. So
crazy, man. It's just crazy that they're still alive. A lot of ball left, man.
Yes, there is. That's what's good about MLB. It can be miserably long or good long, however it turns out for your team. Let's go over to maybe our favorite thing going right now in racing. We'll start with, let's go to the open wheel, guys. Let's talk about the Indianapolis road course last week as we prepare for the Indy 500 here in a couple of weeks. Alex Palou gets the job done there, leads 39 laps. Christian Lundgaard, it was one of my picks. He ran well. He led 35 laps, finished third. We both liked Will Power. He was a good finisher for us. Nice top 3 for him. Alexander Rossi ran well for you in a top 10 performance. He finished 8th. Marcus Ericsson, a little disappointing. And then This is the biggest news to me out of this race. Without question, Stingray Robb finishes 22nd, which is his top finish of the season so far. So congrats to Stingray.
Yeah, and you know what that's funny is the people that sponsored his car was Pray.com.
Yeah, I saw that.
You know?
That's what AJ Foyt does every time the guy's out there.
Right, and whatever prayer they said last week, they better say it upcoming, because I can see that. They shouldn't even send him out for the 500.
My prediction for him is he'll crash at least one car during qualifying and practice. That's my guess.
Yeah, man, it's just Stingray. I can't believe you don't see, like, when I check on the racing things, you see the status, everybody running, and there's one mechanical on the red, and it's not Stingray.
Yeah. Santino this week takes the Stingray Robb Award. But what did you think of the race overall? How much of it did you catch, if any? Marcus Armstrong, a nice top 5 finish for him.
Yeah, I caught actually a good bit of it. I liked it. I love the 500. I really do think it's my favorite race to watch. Right. At least the beginning when they fly by all those flowers. It's a great track, but the race was great. They kept pointing out that Power, Dixon, Armstrong, and McLaughlin, all these Aussie guys, were all up in the front, which it actually is pretty damn cool that they're all that talented and good.
Yes.
But there's just something that I keep getting these weird feelings about these Penske cars that I don't know.
Trust them.
I love seeing Newgarden down here in 17th. That puts a huge smile on my face. But I don't think McLaughlin and Power, would cheat. But I have no idea. And I'd like to see somebody else than Palou win. Something about Palou. It makes me mad. I don't know if it's his face. I don't know if it's... I know that sounds ridiculous.
No, I'm with you. He's not my favorite guy by any means, but he gets the job done. Continues the trend of different winners for the season. And then on to the 500 we go here in a couple of weeks. Since we won't have a show leading up to it, I thought we'd talk a little bit about that today. Who are you looking at? Who are you leaning towards? It was a pretty good race last year. Joseph Newgarden wins the race, and he only led 5 laps. So that tells you how competitive it was. You had Marcus Ericsson leading 30. You had Alex Palou leading 36. Rinus VeeKay, our boy, 24. Pato O'Ward, 39 laps led. And let's see who else. Oh, Felix Rosenqvist, of course, with 33 laps led. And it was very spread out the year before that when Marcus Ericsson won. That one of the tickets that I cashed there. Pato O'Ward finished second, led 26 laps. And Alex Palou led laps in that race but couldn't get the job done. I don't know. Who are you leaning towards early on here? Not your final pick, but anybody sticking out to you that you think's on the right path to maybe getting into victory lane, getting to drink some milk in Indy at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway here in a couple weeks?
Yeah, I really like the Aero McLaren cars. I just think there's something about what they have going on. I don't know specifically which one. I don't think it's going to be Award. Award was close the year that Ericsson won.
Ericsson won. Yeah.
But something is telling me Alexander Rossi is going to be up towards the front. I know that's a crazy name. I'm not too high on him. But I got a feeling that he's been running pretty well. I mean, they haven't had too many races, but I think McLaren in general, F1-wise and IndyCar-wise, is going to start figuring some things out here.
Yeah, I like the trend too. And actually, it's funny you picked a McLaren, or at least went with the McLarens, because I picked Pato O'Ward. I think he's going to be. I'm not saying as of now. I want to see how these guys qualify, obviously, and see who's fast. But as of now, if I was going to go off of a guy who's run pretty well the last 2 years, last year he crashed after leading 39 laps, and it looked like he was going to win that race, if you remember. He was kind of dominating there for a stretch, and then all of a sudden he had an issue. and then he led 26 and finished second the year before that. So I would go with him right now, but again, I'll wait. And I like to pick a Rossi, and then I could never really discount any of these McLaren cars, or Rosenquist or whoever else that's in the mix for them. But yeah, I think you're right about McLaren. They are trending in the right direction in both F1 and in IndyCar. So I like those picks quite a bit. Sam and I will have our finalized Indy 500 picks for you on Twitter, BLS_PRP. We'll have those up when the time permits and we get the qualifying. It'll be all that stuff coming up this weekend. So you got qualifying starts up. You got some practice and qualifying on Saturday and Sunday in Indianapolis Motor Speedway. 2 weeks of excitement leading up to the big race. So we look forward to that quite a bit. As Sam said, really, really fun day there on Memorial Day. Sunday doesn't get any better than that with a loaded race card like we usually have.
Yes, sir. And also, Matt, I was thinking, don't sleep on Santino Ferrucci.
Yep. Nope. I like that pick too, because I think I actually starred him on here as a guy that I thought was a dark horse. Yeah, so Santino Ferrucci finished 10th 2 years ago, and he was 4th last year. So I had him marked down as one of my long shots as well. I had Pato O'Ward and Ferrucci was my, if I was going to go with my pick in my long shot, those were the two guys. So we're thinking alike there. Thinking alike worked for us really well last week when we had our man Brad Keselowski getting to victory lane for the first time in 101 races. I was really happy for him. I thought his celebration was awesome. I thought everything after the race was cool with him. I was really glad for him. But I got worried. I wasn't sure he was going to be able to get it done. It took some stupidity, I guess, of Tyler Reddick, which is rare for him, to open the door for Brad. But Brad had a good enough car to win all day. And, man, I got to tell you what, on a couple of those restarts, that was some outstanding racing at Darlington. I mean, absolutely edge of your fucking seat. And if you were there, lucky enough to be there for that, I mean, I don't know how you could sit down. Obviously we were invested because we had Keselowski and he was, and didn't it seem to you, it was like slow motion to me. Every single time they would do the choose and it would just repeat itself. Keselowski front row, Keselowski front row, Keselowski front row. I mean, it would happen like 15 times it seemed like. And I'm like, all right, this time he's going to get him gapped. And man, he drove the wheels off that car and still couldn't get by Reddick. But it worked out in the long run. His teammate, Buescher and Reddick get together. Buescher furious after the race with Reddick. That race had it all, Sam. I mean, that really did. And then we end up in victory lane, so it was a hell of a day.
Yeah, I'm going to put it down so far. That's it was my favorite race of the year. It was awesome, like you said. And I was getting nervous because Buescher kept giving Keselowski a bump.
Yes. Some hard bumps.
Hard. And I thought he was going to turn him. I was like, you're going to ruin this, dude. And it ended up being the opposite. Buescher, we didn't ruin it, but, it got ruined for Buescher.
Right.
But he was bumping him hard. And seeing the RFK guys up there again, Matt, it was reminiscent of last year when they started going on this run.
Yes.
It was right around this time.
No question about it. And I'm telling you what, Brad Keselowski's not going 101 more races without winning now. And you got to give the guy a lot of credit because he leaves a really dominant team in a really good car. He goes and gets involved with the Roush Fenway operation, gets to be a part owner of this team, kind of does the Denny Hamlin route. But the difference is that he doesn't have the backing of Joe Gibbs Racing there as his partner. He's got nothing. I mean, he's basically inheriting this, Roush used to be a powerhouse team, but not anymore. And he has really brought a lot to them. And I gave that guy a lot of credit because a couple of years ago, it looked like the guy might be done. Like he got in a tough situation with this, with this ownership operation. And man, now he's built them up to where they were contenders last year. They're both winning races now. And I think this is a very dangerous team going forward.
Yeah, I do too. And I just think I don't know. Racing's tough, man. There's so many different factors that fall into it. But I started to have some serious hope for him, Matt. When Brad was in 33rd a couple races ago, and I told you it was done.
Yes.
And he made his way up there. I thought, you know what, man? It's Brad Keselowski. He's been in the Cup Series for so long. There's a reason for all of this, and I really do think they're going to start to find their groove. And don't sleep on Buescher for the Coke 600.
No, I would not. I would not sleep on either one of these guys for that race.
Nope.
They'll be fast. They'll be up there, and it's got to be a breath of fresh air for Ford to finally have a team that looks like they can be contenders. Josh Berry, another strong run for him in a Ford, finishes in third position. Great run out of him. And then Chase Briscoe out of nowhere. Ryan Blaney is usually pretty good, but he had some bad luck this week. It's bound to happen. He'll be a contender at the 600 and was a winner last year. But, I tell you, that when I was watching that race and I was pretty certain that it was either going to be Reddick, Keselowski, or Buescher. But there was a part of that race where I really thought Ty Gibbs, if he could get off pit road a little bit better, I thought he was going to have a chance to win. This dude's knocking on the door. It's coming very soon.
Yeah, I actually think he's one of my favorites to win this All-Star race. I know there's not too much to it, but I think he's damn good at the track. He's a damn good racer, and I think you're right, man. I think he's going to start to really show his face up front towards, the middle half of this season going towards the end. Yeah,
I had a couple guys ask me who aren't like NASCAR people like we are, but they're starting to learn about the sport and starting to like the sport. And they were like, "Who's this Gibbs guy?" Like, and they're just like, "Yeah, this dude's only in his second year. Like, people are starting to notice him now." Josh Berry's obviously been a factor. He's been getting better. Going into the All-Star Open this week, if you're not familiar with this, folks, it's a two-part All-Star race. You have the guys who are already in the All-Star race, most of your winners, the guys who have won races either this year or last year, and then the guys who haven't are in an open race that have to qualify to get into the big race. So I thought in the All-Star Open, which starts at 5:30 on Sunday, I thought Ty Gibbs was my number one choice and Josh Berry. Those were the two guys that I kept coming back to as guys that I felt like they ran pretty well here at North Wilkes-Barre last year, which was interesting. So they have some experience there, and I think this track just suits Ty Gibbs' style perfectly. I like him a lot in that All-Star Open, and I don't see why he can't contend for the big race if he were to make it.
I know. I really think that we're going to see – I like seeing these newer names.
Yes.
Fresher names up towards the front. I think he's my pick to win the All-Star race. He really is.
I like it. I like it a lot. I thought out of the main draw, a couple guys that were interesting to me. I thought Daniel Suarez ran here well last year. This seems like a track that suits his driving style. So, I mean, if you're getting him around 30-1, see how these guys slot in and qualify. Maybe a shot worth taking with him. And then I thought two other guys who I think will be contenders here. I think Ross Chastain at around 17-1. I like him. And I like Chase Elliott. But there's nothing wrong with the Ty Gibbs. I think this dude is absolutely live to win that race. I think he'll absolutely get in to the big event out of the open race. So I think it's good. And I think sometimes you see that the guys who run well in that first race actually have an advantage, Sam, because they get used to what the track's doing, how the track temperatures are playing, and those kinds of things. And you saw last year with Josh Berry and Ty Gibbs both running in the first race, and Gibbs ends up finishing 9th in the race and ran strong. Berry ended up being 15th, but he was a contender. So I think that is actually a little bit of a benefit to those guys.
Yeah, and there's the only thing that worries me about our predictions is they just repaved this track.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we're getting a totally different thing from, what it was last year. I pray that it's not some shit show like
right.
they screwed it up or something. I don't think they do that. I hope they did it right. So that's the only thing that would worry me. But, it's an all-star race. I don't even know who's going to really be trying and who isn't going to be trying.
Well, last year, Kyle Larson didn't have to try very hard. He led 145 of the 200 laps and basically just dominated this thing. There was nobody else even within shouting distance that had a car that could compete with him. So we'll see if that can change. I think it may well change as these guys get another year of North Wilkes-Barre under their belt. A lot of these guys have never been there before last year. So it's exciting. North Wilkes-Barre, one of the oldest speedways on the NASCAR circuit. It just came back a couple of years ago because of Dale Earnhardt Jr. It was a overgrown mess. If you haven't watched any of those documentaries leading into that race, I highly recommend people doing that because it gives you an idea of how important this track was to that area of North Carolina and just how much their economy depended on it. And then when the NASCAR got so big and corporate and they lost that race, it was just heartbreaking to those people. And for it to at least come back in the all-star race capacity, I think is awesome. I'm still hopeful that they'll eventually get a cup race down the road, but we shall see. So Sam's going with Ty Gibbs. I love that pick. I'm going to go with Chase Elliott as my top selection for the all-star race with Ross Chastain and Daniel Suarez as honorable mention. Sam, anybody under the radar that you think could maybe have a decent run?
I was looking at like Bubba.
Yeah, he ran well last year.
He ran well last year. I just don't think people don't like Bubba.
Yeah.
Like him or Briscoe maybe, but something about Gibbs, I just think that Joe Gibbs always sets up Ty Gibbs to have a good car. You know what I mean? Life's not a fair thing, so if you can get the grandson a little bit of a better car than
right.
Christopher Bell, then so be it. But Matt, I wanted to say I heard a couple rumblings. I don't know how true they are, that Stewart Haas is selling all 4 Chargers.
Wow.
2 to Front Row and 2 to Trackhouse. I don't know how true that is.
Wow.
I don't know, but from that article I sent you that Stewart Haas was interested in it to now, I've read a couple of different things that point that they want to sell all 4 and get out of the Cup Series.
Do you think that that's just the sign of like what Michael Jordan was talking about? Like in the long run, it's not worth the investment? Because that's not good. If Tony Stewart's getting out of this, that says a lot. I mean, that guy lives, bleeds, breathes racing. Everything he does is racing. For him to get out of the Cup is crazy.
I hope it's not true, because I do like Tony Stewart. I think he's great. But if you can, if these things are going for $40 million, $30 million a pop, I'm selling all of them. I'm going to the drag race with my wife, and that's it, brother.
Right. Yeah. He could probably get back involved in Indy since he drove that series. I mean, why not?
I'd love that. I'd love that. Be better than Jimmy, I hope.
Yeah, maybe he can take it over for Penske too, so we don't have cheating. He would be a good commissioner of the IndyCar series. All right, so let's talk a little Coke 600 after we have the All-Star race this week, and then on Memorial Day Sunday we have the Coca-Cola 600, one of the most storied races in NASCAR every single year. 600 miles at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. Last year's winner Ryan Blaney led 163 laps of that event. It was a pretty good race. And then the year before that, Denny Hamlin gets the job done. Only led 15 laps there. Ross Chastain was the top lap leader that year with 153. He is likely to be a contender once again. Sam, I was looking through this. This is always to me is a race that so many possible winners can appear, and usually kind of early on of the guys who have the cars that are going to be able to get the job done. But it's such a long race that can change 2 or 3 times. There's not that many times where a Martin Truex dominates and leads like 480 miles like he did a few years ago. But with these new cars, I don't see that happening as much. Who are some of the guys that you're leaning towards here for the 600 in a couple weeks?
I love Bowman. I absolutely love Bowman. I don't hate Brad again, like we talked earlier. I really think that another Ford may go back to back. They were a little quiet. I think Blaney can run well.
Yes.
But my 4 that I keep going back to are Bowman, Brad, Gibbs, and Blaney. Those are my 4 that, for some reason, I'm sticking with those ones. But I think that Bowman's going to be the one that gets the checkered. He's ran 4 wins. He's
ran well here in the past. Like the Hendrick cars have been just loaded a few times at this race, and Bowman to me was a guy who was a serious contender. And then the last couple of years, he didn't lead many laps, but he was in the top 10. At least, he was 12th last year and 10th the year before that. So a contender, but I think this track suits him so very well. I believe that he absolutely is a contender. Let me bounce a couple of these other names off of you guys that I looked at. I thought William Byron, I think, can be live here. He has been before. He was second last year, and then 2 years ago he did get into a crash, but he had a pretty good car. Chase Elliott, obviously, he was led a lot of laps 2 years ago, got into an accident. Last year he was kind of a mess from his injuries. Martin Truex Jr. is a guy here that I always like at Charlotte. He was 3rd last year, and he was 12th the year before that. But he's had some dominating performances, not in this new car. So I like him as a contender. What are your thoughts on Byron, Elliott, or Truex at the 600?
Yeah, I think Byron's always going to be right up there. I really do. And Truex seems to be very, very streaky towards this little part of his career. But another name that I wanted to write down, but I couldn't because as soon as I have faith in this guy, he fucks me over, is Kyle Busch.
Oh, yeah. No, I had him. He was going to be the next guy I asked you about. So go ahead. Tell me what you think about him because he has led some laps here. He has the best average finish here. He was 6th last year. He was 2nd the year before that.
I don't know if they can figure it out. it just seems he'll have a week where he's all right, he qualifies all right, and then something goes wrong in the race, or he won't qualify well, and he'll be all right during the race. They can't seem to figure it out. But he was a name I kept looking at because it's Kyle Busch. He should know the track. He knows how to race.
Yes.
But he's always the one bitching that you can't pass in these cars. So
yeah,
I don't know. I just think a Hendrick car is always going to be more prepared than a Childress car.
No, I'm with you there. It's just like no matter how good of a car he has, he'll get a pit road tire control penalty or something will go. There's like always something there now with him that just didn't used to exist back in his dominating run. I still think his car could be good enough to be able to win, but you got to get a lot of breaks in a 600-mile race, and all it takes is one to go against you to ruin your day. So yeah, if I couldn't get a really good price on him, I'm probably staying off. He might be a guy that I might kind of feel my way through and maybe do some live betting on him, some in play, maybe get him at like a double the price that he's at, because he is a guy that is determined enough, and if he does have an issue, he can work his way back into the mix. But that consistency is just not there. Obviously, Kyle Larson is a guy that could contend here in the 600. Ross Chastain was a guy that stuck out to me. Led a decent amount of laps here in the past. I think he could be good enough. And then from a long shot perspective, I thought Ricky Stenhouse was interesting. He had a back-to-back sevenths at this track. What are your thoughts on Chastain or Stenhouse?
I actually got a lot of sleepers. I have Stenhouse as a sleeper. I have Haley as a sleeper.
I like it.
Briscoe, Dillon, and Suarez are all names that if you think that, because there's going to be a big wreck.
Oh, yeah.
There's going to be a big wreck, and if those guys are towards the rear end or where it's not too hectic and they can make it through, those are some names that I think that when it comes down to maybe 30 to go, don't be surprised if any of those guys are right up there towards the top.
I agree with you. And Austin Dillon's had great cars there in the past. I mean, that is always one of those races where the guys have the specialty paint jobs. The biggest companies that they have do something very special because it's a military weekend. I mean, that's one of the. I mean, to me it is, and it may not be my favorite race, but I do like it. But it like second to the Daytona 500 as far as the pageantry and the prestige of this race. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I agree. I really am a huge fan of the whole race weekend that we get loaded with. The 500 and this one, they're two awesome races, and especially when people do the double dip, getting Larson to do. Which
Kyle Larson is still planning on trying to do. So we'll see if he can pull it off. So that may affect his performance, but I don't know if anybody can do it. That guy can. So it'll be a hell of a feat. Back to him real quick. Do you think that he can contend a little bit in the 500? I don't see why not.
Yeah, I really do think he's going to be up there, man. All these guys that have raced on different circuits and programs have done pretty well at the 500.
Right. And I mean, he's going to have good stuff.
I think he's right up there. And like you just said, I mean, he's not racing for a nobody. A Hendrick, he's getting sponsored by Hendrick. They're not going to put him out there to get embarrassed.
No. And he'll do better than Jimmy Johnson, I'd say.
I know. And I saw Jimmy's now going into the booth next year or something. It's like, dude, just leave.
Yeah.
It's tarnished. It is, Matt.
It's a shame. I don't know why guys do it, but I guess because they love it. All right, switching over now to the F1 boys. We were last in Miami. Now we're going to be going to Italy, the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix. They did not have this race last year. So we go back to Italy. Last time we were here, Max Verstappen won. I know that's very stunning. He led 63 laps. Sergio Perez was second. Fernando Alonso and Carlos Sainz did not finish the race. Sam, I guess Max coming off of a rare loss as Lando Norris got the job done in Miami a couple of weeks ago. I wouldn't imagine Verstappen loses twice in a row. What do you think?
No, I got right here. Max wins. I think Lando's going to be in the top 3 again. I think that, like I said, McLaren's finding a groove. I can't believe I'm saying this. I think Magnussen can be up in there in the top 10 because Haas is doing okay. He has nothing to lose. And the name that I have it written on this card that I think he's going to be in the top 10 is Yuki Tsunoda. I'm so anti whatever that fucking team name is now. Ricardo gets on my nerves.
Oh, yeah,
He can go, man. He's starting to become the Jimmy Johnson of F1 for me. Like, dude, it's over. It's just over, man.
Yeah.
Do you think that the Alpines will be all right? I got Ocon on here. I don't know how I feel about him, though. He's iffy.
Well, let's see. The last time that we were here, the Alpines, they weren't awful, but I mean they weren't exceptional either. So, I mean the team like that, you just never really know how it's going to turn out. I mean usually they're not going to qualify well. We already know that, but yeah, I mean I don't see why they can't. I mean it was Alonso was driving for him the last time we were here. Ocon was 14th, so possible. It just amazes me that like every single week when we talk about these, we rarely mention anything out of Mercedes, and if we do, it's only George Russell.
Yeah, Lewis is, I don't know, man. I don't know if this Ferrari thing is going to go very well for Lewis. I hope it does. But if it doesn't, he needs to leave immediately. Like as soon as you can get out of that contract, because I don't know if the legacy gets tarnished like too bad because you did 7 in a row, but I don't know how much of that has to do with Mercedes as opposed to your driving skills, because he hasn't been up there, Matt, one time this year.
Maybe he should come to North America and race in the Indy or NASCAR series.
Please do. Come to NASCAR would be great. We got plenty of open seats for you. I read today that Harrison Burton, the Wood brothers, might finally ditch Harrison Burton.
Yeah,
they have the 21.
They have to. He just doesn't have it. He needs to go back to the truck series or something where he can maybe contend, but. I don't know. But, nonetheless, we got some good weeks of racing coming up. Monaco Grand Prix, the Indy 500, Coke 600, All-Star race this week, the Grand Prix in Italy. So good stuff on the horizon, Sam. Let's switch over briefly before we let you run on NBA and NHL playoffs. We'll start with the NBA. The Celtics look like they'll put the Cavs out of their misery here relatively soon. And then what are your thoughts on the Pacers and Knicks? Can the Pacers force a Game 7? And then if they do, can they win in Madison Square Garden in Game 7?
I think the Pacers could win both these games, but I don't think they will. I think the Knicks, I just think they're going to grit it out. I think that it's tough. It's a tough matchup, man.
It is. It's a very even matchup, I would say.
Like one player is taken out of the game. Like if they can really lock down Brunson, then it's the Pacers. But if Halliburton doesn't show up, it's so evident what happens.
And then your Pittsburgh boy, TJ McConnell's been a key to the series. He didn't play well last game, but I would expect him to bounce back. But yeah, he's been really, really important for the Pacers.
Yeah, I mean that's Duke's finest player right there. Right. TJ McConnell, he's putting on well for the city. But I think the Knicks are going to get it done. I think the Knicks are going to end up in the conference finals, Matt. Yeah,
and that will be tough. Whether they can give the Celtics anything, they win a game or two, we'll see. Switching over to the West, this OKC Dallas series, pretty dead even series. This is going to go probably 7 games, I would guess. What are your thoughts on that one?
Luka makes me nervous.
He does.
He makes me nervous because when he starts, he either can get, there'll be a bad foul call against him and he'll get motivated and he'll put up 50.
Right.
Or he will also get so pissed off and start pitching at the refs and he's in his head the whole game.
Yeah, I had on the game last Saturday, and the way that they closed out a game, it was like him and Kyrie Irving had never played a basketball game that came down to the wire before. It was just bizarre. Like they had like a 5-point lead, and they were trying to do the silliest, stupidest things when Oklahoma City was going to need to foul him, and he's trying to go 1-on-4, and he turns the ball over, and it's like, do you not understand the circumstance here? Like, move the ball, run the clock out, and they're going to foul you and make your free throws, and you're going to win. But they had to make it difficult on themselves. I like Luka as a talent, but he really does frustrate me. It's a great thing you said, because he makes me nervous. He concerns me. He frustrates me because I feel like at the end of the game he could just have a meltdown.
Yeah, he could, man, and he's always. I mean, Matt, from the tip-off, he is bitching at the refs about something, and humans do human things, and if you just, we might miss a foul call here or there.
Yeah.
Maybe the ball went off his finger. I know they got the replay, but it's just like, man, when you do that all game, it just gets on my nerves.
No, it does. It gets on mine as well. I hate that when he's like out of the play and he's over there throwing his hands up. It's like, come on, man. Like, stop it. Like, you'll get calls eventually. Just keep playing. Like, just don't stop. But I expect that series to probably go 7. And then the other series in the West, Denver, dead and buried according to most people. Boom, 3 in a row, and then the Timberwolves' inexperience showing a little bit now. Do the Nuggets finish them off in Game 6, or does it go 7?
I think they will, and I think if they really want to make it an easy one, the Nuggets just get under Karl Anthony Towns' skin.
Right.
I think
He's
he is
weak.
soft as can be. I don't think it's a Gobert thing at all. I don't think it's an Edwards thing. I just think the Nuggets are a much better basketball team.
Yeah, and it just took them a
all
while
around.
to get clicking. Tough to knock out the champs. I mean, they're coming on a mission trying to repeat. Murray playing better. Jokic, the best player in the world, and another MVP to add to his trophy case, which is nice to see. But switching over to hockey now. Looked like the old Carolina Hurricanes were finished, but they have a little bit of a pulse. They played very well the last game. I thought the game that they staved off elimination, Game 4, I didn't think they were very good. I thought they were just lucky to win that game. But I thought the other night they were noticeably better than the Rangers the entire game. So I don't know if the Rangers kind of were in a letdown spot or what they were doing with that. But what are your thoughts on that one? Can Carolina get it to 7?
All right, Peter Laviolette needs to figure it out because I'm only cheering for the Rangers for one person, and that's Vince Trocheck.
Right.
I want him to get the ring, but Coach Brindamore's no joke, man. He's won the
Right.
cup.
Yes.
He's so intense. They're like you said, Matt. They're almost like a militaristic type team. They're just like, I don't know. They looked significantly better last game, and I just think if you can get Gensel, I mean, man, I wish Gensel was still a Penguin.
Yeah.
I really do. But like, I don't think the series is over in any way. Shape.
No, I don't either, because I know Carolina obviously plays well in their own building, and if they're able to win that game, I think the pressure on the Rangers is through the freaking roof in Madison Square Garden at Game 7. If they were to blow that, they were just sitting there a week ago telling us how this is the 94 team, that's the same path, they're going to do everything the same, blah, blah, blah. Now they may have to play a Game 7. I mean, that to me, nowadays, the Game 7, the pressure gets to the team who, if you're a serial loser like Toronto and these other, like, the pressure in your own building just eats you apart, I feel like.
Yeah, and it's like, what are they going to do? Like, fucking start Matt Rempe, start a fight, Game 7, you know what I mean? Get the crowd
Right.
going. Like, I don't know what you do, but that Game 7 thing's in your head. It's like, man, we've blown this.
Yes.
We've blown this, and like, Carolina has nothing to lose.
No. And then they got,
Nothing to lose.
Jordan Stahl's a stabilizing captain. He's picked his game up here in the last 2 games. So I like that series. I think it's been a good one. Last night, Boston, Swayman was outstanding. Florida dominated the play. They had a ton of shots. They had tons of power plays. Couldn't get the job done. Swayman gives the Bruins another day on earth. Maybe they get Marchand back with an extra day off. What are your thoughts on that one? I still think Florida's just too good for them.
Yeah, I think Florida's too good. I think they're way too physical. I just think they're just like Bennett is such a beast.
Yeah.
I think that Boston just they don't have it. They
Yeah.
have good players, but they don't have the type of players that, like you said, Florida has that can just keep taking this shit over and over and over, and they're just ready to go.
Yeah, for them to win this series, Swayman will have to absolutely shut down the Panthers the next 2 games, which he did yesterday. So if he can hold them to 1 goal or less, they may have a shot. But Florida just has so much more depth than the Bruins do. They losing 2 top centermen from last year retiring. That's a blow. It's a tough one. So we'll see if they get Marchand back. If not, I think they're finished. Then let's go over to another sad state of affairs. Colorado Avalanche's Valery Nichushkin is now suspended for 6 months. And he's a mess. This guy's been a mess for a while. Big loss to the Avalanche. They find this out right before the game. You could tell it did not bode well for them when they took the ice the other night. Dallas just very stable and solid. And your boy from last year, you called Jake Ottinger to win the MVP of the playoffs last year. It didn't happen, Conn Smythe, but this year maybe he can.
Yeah, he came in. Dallas is looking good.
They are.
I hope Edmonton wins, and I can get an Edmonton-Dallas Western Conference Finals. I would love that. I'd love to see McDavid play against them, but Dallas is low-key and a very quiet team.
Yes,
but they're pretty
a lot of good
loaded
players
on all of their lines. They
yeah,
really
and
are.
great defensive pairings too. Really good.
Yeah.
They brought Tanev over at the trade deadline, so they're good. No doubt about it. If the whole key to them last year, I thought they were going to make a run. It was Ottinger. Now he's got himself confident and he's playing well. So look out, because I think this Edmonton Vancouver series goes 7, and whoever's left standing there, Dallas will be waiting on. Colorado's just toast now, unfortunately for them. But I think whoever Dallas gets here is going to give them a good series. I can't count Rick Tocchet out. This guy somehow, after bad performances, the guy motivates his team to bounce back strong.
Yeah, I love Coach Tocchet, man. If the Penguins can somehow get a coach like that,
yes,
geez, man, I'd cry. But yeah, Tocchet's great, and Vancouver's not bad either. But I want to see Edmonton go, man. Canada's got to have a team in these finals.
Yeah, no, well,
they may not.
Yeah,
they may not. Once again,
their last hopes are with those two teams, really, and that's actually they're making it further than they usually do. But Edmonton.
Yeah,
If they don't make a final here soon, McDavid's really going to be starting to hear the jeers, and it's not good. But that power play is absolutely ecstatic, or just it clicks at such a high rate. It's so good, and watching it against Dallas will be quite something to see. But we'll see if we get there. Vancouver's still going to have something to say about it in the Western Conference. So good playoffs ahead, though. I think there's still going to be some good championship series in both NBA and NHL. Sam, anything else to hit on before we wrap up for the day?
Yeah, they need to quit sending the Jaguars to London immediately, Matt.
That's their second home. They might send them there forever.
I know. What's up with this, man? That's not the team I would. I know it started with them, and that's like the tradition now, but I do not want to see them in another game in London. I don't.
Yeah, I agree. Those games tend to be very, very boring and poorly played. But we'll see. We got games in Brazil this year. The German ones, those German fans are hostile and rowdy. I like that.
That game is going to be awesome, and it's a damn shame it's the Panthers and Giants.
Yeah, how about your thoughts on – yeah, no, they can't keep sending the Giants to these countries. I know they're from New York, but they're absolutely horrible. They embarrass themselves every single year. What quick thoughts on the Steelers Christmas Day game? It looks like a Christmas Day Wednesday game for the Steelers.
It makes me nervous as all get up, and I'll tell you why. Patrick Mahomes needs 2 wide receivers. He's got Kelsey, and he needs, they just drafted that Xavier Worthy.
Yeah.
They're going to be fine.
And they got Hollywood Brown if he still has anything.
Right. That's all he needs.
Yeah.
He needs three other people besides himself to have a good offense, and he's got it. And I think they're going to fucking dice the Steelers up per usual.
Yeah.
I really do.
I wouldn't count the Chiefs out.
They haven't played a snap. I'm saying that now, but it's just –
no, you're right.
Man, the Chiefs are good. Mahomes is he's different, man. He's like Brady. Give me Edelman, give me Welker, give me Gronk. We're good.
Yeah, no question. Somebody's gonna have to rise up to be able to dethrone them, because I imagine they'll be right in the mix till the very end. Well coached, and they got Pacheco to run the ball. So if they get their offensive line holds up, they'll be very good again as usual. But we'll talk plenty more NFL down the road. Sam, thanks as always for the insight. Enjoy all the action this weekend, and we'll talk to you in a couple of weeks here on the show. But I'll be talking to you way before that and getting your plays throughout the next couple of weeks. So thanks for everything, buddy.
Yeah, man. Excited for the racing weekend. I hope everybody gets to enjoy it. It's not going to get any better than that. So go Bucks, and that's it, my friend.
All right. We'll see you soon, Sam. That's Sam the man from Upper St. Clair giving us the input as always. Great breakdowns on all the sports. And, have a great weekend, everybody. Enjoy the PGA. Enjoy the Aussie Rules. Enjoy the racing. Enjoy the French Open that starts next week. Baseball, NHL and NBA playoffs, WNBA. You name it, we have it right now. Canadian football will be starting soon. We haven't talked much about UFL because there's just been so many other things there. I'd like to try to watch a little bit more of that. I haven't got the opportunity to do that. But anyway, we'll see you back here on Bettor's Last Stand in a couple of weeks. Until then, you can follow us, BLS_PRP, the Pine Room Studios, at the Pine Room Studios on all the social media. You can link over to any of our social media accounts. Keep tabs on what's going on in the Pine Room Studios. PineRoomStudios.com, our new website by our boy Timo, helping us out build that one. Another beautiful site built by Timo. So check that one out. Can give us feedback. Check out all the other things we got going on right now. We got several interns that we're employing here over the summer and into next fall that are going to help us in various different ways as far as manpower and creativity goes. So we're looking forward to what those young people can provide to us, and you'll be seeing the benefits of that here in the coming days from the Pine Room Studios. So have a great couple of weeks, everybody, and we will see you in 2 weeks, I guess. Early June here on Bettor's Last Stand for show number 88 when I return from vacation. Until then, keep up with us, BLS_PRP. We'll see you in a few weeks. Good luck, everyone.